Thank you, everyone, for joining us. I am Leanne Wiseman. I am a professor of law at Griffith University, and on the call tonight is Associate Professor Kanchana Karawasam, who is my research fellow in my research project, which is about right to repair, but she is also at Griffith. And I'll talk a little bit about some of the work that we've done later tonight. But the idea of coming together is to update our Australian Repair Cafe volunteers on the work that we've been doing. So some of you have come along to our workshops before, but I thought before this year of 2025 concluded that it was a good opportunity to reconnect with most people. What I am very happy, Les, can you not hear me? Sorry, I think most people can, so I'll just proceed. Les, I hope that if you drop out sometimes and come back in, that might help to check your connection. Great. Okay. So, as I said, I'm Leanne Wiseman, and I'm chair of the Australian Repair Network. So what I thought we would do tonight, it's really great to see. We have people here from Queensland, from the ACT, from Victoria, from South Australia, New South Wales, and WA, which is fantastic. So we're covering almost the large proportion of repair cafes around Australia, which is fantastic. I understand the people in the NT, we've got 2 repair cafes in the centre of Australia, particularly challenging, in terms of getting timing that suits everyone. And I do appreciate that it's kind of personal time and it's dinner time for a lot of people. So what I propose to do this evening is the opportunity is to welcome you all and to try and connect you all to each other. We have some new people in this call tonight who haven't been to one of our webinars before. So I'm very excited about that. So I thought, because we have just held our 5th Australian Repair Summit in Canberra in October, just on the day before International Repair Day, a number of people kind of reached out who some repair cafe people could come along, which was amazing and fantastic. We love to see them, but we appreciate that not everyone can travel into Canberra or jump online. So what we have done is I just wanted to connect with you and provide you a bit of an update. So what I will do is share my screen and I will just take you through a little bit of introduction. But the purpose of tonight really is to hear from you about Kanchana and I did a survey in 2023 of repair cafes in Australia, and we identified some opportunities and challenges. And this is just another opportunity, given that we've got new people on the call tonight, to kind of hear from you about how our Australian Repair Cafe movement, really, if we call it that, is going in Australia and how we can elevate that. So if you don't mind, I'm going to disappear a little bit and share my screen and just take you through a couple of slides to do a quick update. But then I want to hand over to you so that you can all talk. What I thought I would do, I'll start. Sorry, I'll formally start and then I'll do what I'm planning to do. Basically, what I will do is share my screen and get this up for you. And if you want to let me know if someone can just put a hands up, if you can see some slides, that would be fantastic. Oh, got a big thumbs up. Thank you very much. That's wonderful. So here we are. There's my details if anyone would like to speak to me. Before I formally kick off, I would like to obviously pay my respects and acknowledge the people on who are the traditional custodians of the land upon this seminar will be given. I am based in Brisbane, so I pay respects to the Turrbal and Jagera people, and I pay respects to the elders past and present, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples joining us today. So thank you very much for your stewardship of this beautiful nation that we have. So what I propose to do is basically I'll introduce because we've got some new people, and welcome to everyone who's been on these calls before and these workshops before. We love getting you all together. Is just to explain a little bit of who I am and why I'm so passionate about all the work that you are doing in the Repair Cafe movement and community repair in Australia. In 2022, I received an Australian federal government grant to look at the right to repair in Australia. And part of that, and in 2021, following our first Australian Repair Summit in August of 2021, at the request of the Productivity Commission, I established the Australian Repair Network. With a steering committee of people from different industries, and Karen from Mended Australia is on my steering committee, as she was a very vocal advocate of community repair, and we've got a number of members, and you can visit our website. The reason I raise this is because on our Australian Repair Network website, we record, as we will tonight, and every event that we have held, whether it's a workshop for community repair, or whether it's the Australian Repair Summit or public lectures that we do, everything is recorded, and you can find it to view it and listen and learn about where our right to repair movement is in Australia from our website. So if you look at that Australian Repair Network website, you'll see that there is a link that talks about events. And if you go that right back until 2021, when we held our first Australian Repair Network Australian Repair Network Summit in Canberra, all of those recordings are there. So you can look at sessions about medical device repair, about automotive repair or agricultural machinery repair, or the community repair movement. So I just wanted to point that out for new members who are on the call tonight who may not be familiar with that resource, because there's a lot of information, particularly there are some, and I will show you here, I'll jump back to that earlier slide, there was in 2022, we held a one-day community repair conference in Canberra, which we made a hybrid event, which is also recorded, so you can look at that. We had some international perspectives on repair. We had Australian repair community people speak, as well as different stakeholders in the repair space. So you can view that. Back in 2021, we did do, post-COVID, because we really did start in the COVID era, Building Back Better, a reuse, repair and recycle stakeholder workshop that we held at South Bank. And we have also, I engaged the Restart group in the UK, who are very active in the repair space in terms of international advocacy, but certainly in the UK space and the EU space, James and Ugo, to do a workshop for our community repair groups about different ways in which you can collect repair data. And that workshop is available for you too on our website. So basically, for those of you who weren't able to, and not everyone has been able to or interested, that's fine. But for those of you who weren't able to join our latest Australian Repair Summit, which, as I said, we started in 2021, this is our 5th year of running the Australian Repair Summit. I just thought I'd provide a bit of a snapshot, as I did at the summit itself, of what we talked about. What we have talked about, a bit of a retrospective over the years. So every year at our repair summits, we provide an international update. We often get Carl Weens from iFixit in the United States, Anthony Rosborough from Can Repair, the Right to Repair Coalition in Canada. We had this year Professor Carl Dahlhammer from Lund University in Sweden talk about the EU position. So we provide a little bit of a snapshot of policy and regulatory updates around the right to repair for our Australian policymakers, as well as our regulators, but also our repair stakeholders in the community and businesses and industries. So it's really useful across the 5 years to see how far some of the countries have, and nations, and basically what's been happening in the Northern Hemisphere has come from in the right to repair movement. For example, 3 years ago, I attended a repair event in the UK, and we were talking about the desire to have a right to repair directive, and now they have that. So that is interesting to see. It was in terms of getting laws passed, 3 years is quite a short time frame. So some of the repair barriers that we talk about in the broader right to repair movement, and the community repair group is very much part of this movement. We talked about automotive repair, which was really where the right to repair began in 2012 in Massachusetts in the United States. Australia has its one and only right to repair law currently for our automotive sector, and that is to enable our individual local mechanics to access the diagnostic data of foreign-made cars or global car manufacturers so that they can diagnose and fix your own car, whether it's a Hyundai or a Mazda or a Toyota or whatever car. That legislation is called a mandatory data sharing legislation, which is very unique. And I'm more than happy to talk about this in the session that's open about that. But that's a very unique piece of legislation for Australia. And in fact, the way it's been crafted in our Australian consumer law that mandates global manufacturers to share diagnostic information with independent repairers is really an achievement for Australia. So we should be very proud of that. And the ACCC looks after that piece of legislation in terms of regulating that. We love that piece of legislation, and part of the advocacy that we've been working on is to get agricultural machinery so our farmers can fix their tractors and combine harvesters and all of the digital equipment that they have on their farms brought under that legislation as well. And we've been working with Treasury and the Productivity Commission for a number of years around why agricultural machinery is experiencing those same barriers that we've experienced in the automotive sector. We have also over the years talked about different challenges around repair of consumer electronics and appliances. We all know that the global e-waste crisis is growing exponentially. We are using and consuming 5 times as many electronic and electrical appliances and we can ever recycle. So this issue about we cannot recycle our way out of the waste crisis, we need to look higher up the waste hierarchy and talk and fund and support more repair and reuse. And they're the discussions that we have with all levels of government. One thing about repair and the right to repair, which you probably all appreciate, is that it really impacts so many different areas of government. It impacts the local government because they deal with the resource recovery sites and waste, our rubbish bins, for example, but also state governments collect the waste levy. They have certain levers that they can pull as well, but also federally, the Commonwealth and the national government that we have has responsibility for things like consumer law, for intellectual property law, competition law, and environmental laws around labelling, etc. So really, in terms of advocacy and the kind of work that we're trying to do, it's trying to attack it from on all fronts. We've also had sessions on medical device and assistive technologies. I'm not sure if you personally or colleagues or friends or family of yours have had these experiences, but many of our people in our society who are dependent on medical devices, embedded or external devices, or assistive technologies like electric wheelchairs and other devices, are also experiencing barriers to reasonable and affordable repair, particularly in rural and remote Australia. We know we have a very big country. So we have had, and you can view all of these sessions so that you can get across all of the different aspects. We have also had sessions on, obviously the role of good design. A lot of people argue that 90% of the repairability of a product starts at how it's made and designed, and I would agree with that. And the role of repair in product stewardship. And product stewardship is like the extended producer responsibility that they have in Europe, and that is making the manufacturers of products responsible for the entire lifetime of a product. And that is, you make it, you sell it, you should be able to support and maintain and repair it. And then what happens at the end of life, when it's truly at the end of the life, whether it's recycled or whether it can be reused. We've looked at initiatives from overseas where we've seen France introduced a repairability label, as well as repair bonuses and incentives. And many of the European countries have introduced incentives, whether it's Sweden with a tax incentive about getting GST removed equivalent, say, on a repair cost, or actually getting a rebate. We recently at the 2025 Australian Repair Summit heard from Julie Brockman from Canning City Council in Western Australia, who has introduced Australia's first repair incentive, and that is basically an eco incentive, so that like your compost or your nappy kind of rebate, that there's a rebate if you get something repaired, you get some money back from the council. So that's a fantastic initiative, and that really incentivizes people to repair. We've also identified and talked about the need for recognizing the wonderful repair skills that you all have, and but also to recognize those small businesses and industries that are doing the repair, and the need that we have in Australia to recognize that these are really important green skills for a circular future that we need to bolster. And so we're seeing in TAFEs and universities and schools that some of those basic repair skills of sewing, mending, or, the old kind of school skills that we used to impart to students has been dropped off, and how we can reintroduce that and support people. Every time we have held an Australian Repair Summit, we talk about the importance and benefits of community repair. And that is because whether you know it or not, and I think most of you do, but you are kind of the coalface of repair in our communities, and you are demonstrating what repair can do, not only in terms of the economic value of saving people money, but that transfer of knowledge, the reduction of waste that we see, but there are so many multifaceted benefits of our repair cafes. But it really helps us in the right to repair movement because you are the ones who are encountering the physical barriers to repair, whether something is glued and not screwed, or whether you can't get spare parts, or whether you can't get tools or information to do the repairs that people bring into you, once a month or whenever you run your repair cafe. So we recognize and value all of the work that you do. And I know that a lot of you are just volunteers and you're giving up your time. Most of you don't have substantial funding and you've got a huge number of challenges in terms of recruitment, insurance, venues, and we'll talk about that. But we want to acknowledge, and part of this is to acknowledge the fantastic work that you are doing, not only for your communities, but for the broader Australian public in terms of getting some of these barriers removed so that we can live more sustainably and use our products and keep our products in use for longer, which is what the politicians want to talk about. So what I'll do is, that was my thanks to you. Here's a snapshot of some of our repairers. There's a collection of you all over. Oh, things are going a little bit wild here. Sorry. I know we've got people from Sea Change here today from the ACT. We've got Repair Cafe Sandgate people here today. Welcome. And basically, Karen and Danny there from Mended Australia, a number of different repair cafes, but I love it. If you ever want to send me photos from your repair cafes of, the joy that people experience, both volunteers and people who come into your repair cafes, please feel free. I'm happy. I try and collect them as much as I can and I use them to illustrate this kind of vibrant community that we have in Australia. So and because I've got a mixture of people who've been with us before and new people, I'm going to go over a little bit of old ground and I won't take too long doing that because I'm conscious of the time. But previously, and part of my research has been, going to other places to find out how they're going with repair. And in some cases, there's really good examples that I can bring back to Australia to share with the community, repair community, but also our businesses and also government, different levels of government, about different ways that we can support and elevate repair so that it's more accessible and more affordable to everyone. Two countries and all of the travels that I've done with my research, I love the best are Scotland and Wales. And I've talked about this at numerous times. But Scotland, and the reason I really like these models is both of these countries, the government, and whether it's a national government or, well, basically Scotland and Wales are, but they have actually directly funded a network to elevate repair in their countries and their communities. So you will see on the left, the Scottish government has got a whole range of circular economy, kind of net zero targets, and they saw that building a share and repair network in partnership with their Scottish government was one way in which they could elevate repairing and sharing behaviour. And by sharing behaviour, we've got David Painter on the call tonight. By sharing, I mean sharing libraries, or we have in Australia a library, an LOT network, a library of things network. So whether it's a toy library, a tool library, there's so many different forms of sharing libraries. They are really directly addressing that consumption issue. And that is always the elephant in the room. We always hear, oh, people should buy less and, they should buy better and blah, 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 blah. But if you can go and borrow a drill or borrow a gurney or whatever it might be, that saves the expense. So it's an economic saving, but it's also something that's going to be in use. You use it, you need a hole in the wall, you don't really need a drill. So you achieve your purpose, but without purchasing something and spending the money, and then it goes back to the library for someone else to use. So I see a real alignment with sharing and repairing behavior, because we're keeping products in use for longer, both of us, and that's really important. There is more alignment, and around the world there is more alignment with sharing behaviors and repairing behaviors than there is with repair and reuse. And what we seem to be experiencing in Australia is a little bit of let's conflate repair and reuse together, and that is not helpful for either of these activities, because reuse often suggests a kind of second use, and it can be by second people. But when you think of repairing, I just want my fridge fixed so it lasts for longer. Like I wouldn't consider that reuse. I'm just considering that my thing is fixed and it's my thing and I want it to last longer. So I really admire Scotland and Wales, because they have married sharing and repairing together. And I think that's a really strong kind of policy lever. So in Scotland, they have a share and repair network, and that network basically helps coordinate, provide training, support, data collection for sharing libraries and repair cafes in and around Scotland. And that is a paid position. I worked with Emma Irwin, and now it's Jane Owen, who does a 3-year position that's funded by the Share and Repair Network, or Circular Communities in Scotland, to help coordinate and grow. And what we've seen in Scotland is the doubling, or almost kind of 2.5 times the number of repair cafes and sharing libraries. There's more of them and they're more successful. So, and that's really from a coordination point of view, because they learn from each other and there's one kind of source of common truth, and that's helping everyone. Similarly, in Wales, the Welsh government has set up basically Repair Cafe Wales, and they also fund basically the Library of Things in Wales. And so there is also, again, government support for both of those positions, and they work very closely together, as David and I do in the Library of Things Network and the Australian Repair Network, to coordinate things. So that's just an example, I think, of what we have seen, or I've seen, and that I've shared with our policymakers of what could work, because I think this is a really good example of, we have the evidence of the Share and Repair Network has gone through 3 years, and they've done all their data reporting and they've reported back on their funding, and the stats are in, and that they're doing great. So they've got more funding, and similarly with Repair Cafe Wales and their sharing library. So we turn to our Australian repair cafes. Look, it's really fantastic to see people from most of around Australia. And I might just give me a shout out. I'll run through the list that I have here of the people that I've got, and I know that there might be a couple of other people, which is fantastic. So from the Grove, I've got John Mogg, Matt, Anne, and John, who from the Grove Repair Cafe in Queensland. I've got Arjan and Erin from the Gap Repair Cafe. I've got Patrick and Ricky from Townsville. I've got Rachel from North Queensland Region of Council. Welcome, Rachel. I've got Louise from Bayside Repair Cafe, David Painter from Gold Coast Tool Library and Repair Cafe, Jackie from Redcliffe, Les Barkler from Redcliffe, Wayne from Redcliffe and Sandgate. He visits both. We've got Pam from Sandgate. We've got Roger. Roger's locally to us in Queensland or southeast corner of Queensland, Roger deserves a bit of a thumbs up, because Roger actually supports 5 of our repair cafes in our local area, which is amazing. He's the electrical whiz who visits 5 of our repair cafes on different Saturdays in and around the southeast corner, which is fantastic. We've got Brooke from the Woolloongabba Repair Cafe and Anita from the Tinkerage as well. We've got, did I say Michael Phillips from Redcliffe as well, and Matt and John from the Grove. From the ACT, we have Julie from the Community Toolbox. We have Kath and Enling from Sea Change, and Kirsten from Jinjinderry, is it, Repair Cafe? Fantastic to see. And I know Sea Change is doing some coordination and networking work with the ACT repair cafes, which is fantastic. From WA, we've got Neil from Doubleview, Betsy from Fremantle, Wendy from Doubleview, Sandra from Doubleview, and Wilma, who runs the Repair Labs in Western Australia. Repair labs are something unique to Western Australia. So and that's something that Wilma runs a number of them, and we can talk about that in a little bit. From Victoria, we've got Karen from Mended Australia, who's also set up the Jackson Hill Repair Cafe. We have got Robin from Collar Otway, which is fantastic. Chris from Castleview, Leanne from Castleview, Mark and Ian and Lisa from St Kilda, Alison from Wodonga, Gillian from Wangaratta, Susan from Richmond. South Australia, we've got Rose from Unley, and I've visited Unley. I have visited a lot of your repair cafes and I love them. Karen from Tuggeranong and Susan from Campbelltown. New South Wales, we've got Gabriel, Lake Mac, very strong advocate of repair cafes as well. Mira from Mullumbimby, and Wendy from Repair Cafe North Sydney. WA, did I say that? Yes. And that's it. And we've got some volunteers here tonight. David, Raphael, Peter, and Melissa. We've actually got people on the call, and when I finish my little blurb, I'll open it up, because we've got people who've joined us tonight, which is fantastic, who are interested in the Repair Cafe movement and are interested to volunteer. And so really it is just a matter of finding where your Repair Cafe is. So in terms of our repair cafes, there's, as I've just mentioned, we've got repair labs and repair cafes in WA, but in many other states, we just have repair cafes. We have repair happening in other activities as well. So the Tinkerage is an example, and we've got bicycle repair happening in different places as well. So not everyone is a formal repair cafe. In Australia, probably I'd say about a half, if not more, have kind of signed up to the International Repair Cafe. So if you've done that and paid or not paid some money to use their digital pack, and you're using the purple and orange, you might be on there, the Martine Posner's International Repair Cafe map. You don't need to do that. You can just set up yourself, and we've got probably, I don't know if it's about maybe 60-70% under the International Repair Cafe model, but others are not, and we're all the same. We've got repair cafes that have been set up in universities. I've set up some in Griffith University, and my university, or our Conchana and my university, has 5 campuses. We run at 4 campuses, and we try to run 2 a semester with staff, students, and community volunteers. One of those photos is lovely Gwyneth, who volunteers at Woolloongabba Repair Cafe, but she also comes to our university. She comes on campus and does fantastic sewing and mending for our repair cafe. We've got, images, but also there is a lot of repair happening in other places, and we celebrate that as well. It's not just about the formal repair cafe movement, but also there's a lot of activity that people are doing in our communities and in different areas around Australia to promote repair as part of a broader sustainability argument, whether it's about circular economy or sustainability. Obviously, repair helps people save money. So there's the economic and productivity gains that we have from repair. But there's also obviously the environmental savings from reducing waste and keeping things in use for longer. But there's also the very important social inclusion and social aspects of repair that we love to celebrate as well. So these are just some of the examples. We've got repair labs in UWA, UQ and Griffith University. RMIT has offered repair cafes. We love, and part of the work that Kanchana and I have been doing with other coordinators, and if you know someone in a university in your town, we really think that our universities, with all those expert academics, with all those skills, whether, whatever faculty or school that you're in, and the fact that we have so many students, what we really find at our university repair cafes is that it's such an inclusive opportunity for our international students who often bring in incredible skills. They come to Australia and they're retraining. I had an engineer from Africa who was retraining as a nurse on the Gold Coast, but he could pull a computer apart and do fantastic work, even though he was a nursing student. So, and we see that we have undergraduate first-year students mixing with, or bachelor's students mixing with masters and PhD students. They all come together across different disciplines and different skill levels, and they'll all work together. You can see Emily is here, is working. Emily was actually an environmental engineering student on the right-hand side, and she was demonstrating how you replace a battery in a laptop to other students at the on that particular day. So there's lots of opportunity, and we've been trying to work with our UK counterparts and in the US to work out how we can develop a model to try and build repair communities within our educational institutions. And it's not just universities, but obviously schools and colleges would be really great as well. Just quickly, because many of you know about this, but I wanted to share this with the newer people, is that Kanchana and I wanted to try and paint a picture of the repair community in Australia. And so in 2003, we tried to do a survey of as many repair cafe conveners, committee members, and volunteers and helpers that we could. And that was really an initial attempt to gain some insights from all of you about your fantastic achievement, your challenges, your opportunities, and how you're operating, how you're recruiting, etc., just to get a picture. And that was really to provide a bit of a starting point for us. So we wanted to hear from you individually about the benefits, opportunities, and challenges. And one of the challenges that we had as academics in a university, and we relied heavily upon Repair Cafe's community, and Karen from Mended Australia helped us a lot with her Facebook pages, but all of you through your networks helped us spread that survey. And we know that we did not reach everyone and that some people weren't able to participate. But I thought I'd just give you a quick snapshot in the time that we've got of some of the results, because I think this is really the only way that we can talk to policymakers about what wonderful benefits you bring to our communities, is to get some insights and data, because one-on-one you can talk to your local members, which we think is fantastic and we encourage. But when we go to government, it's really important that we can say 87% of people in repair cafes, find this or want this or experience problems with this. And so it really helps us The government is always asking us for data, and this was one attempt to try and get that. So what we did have a challenge about limited responses, and we obviously, if you look at the location of who responded, a lot of them were Queensland, obviously, because we are based in Queensland. But we did have people from WA, South Australia, Victoria, New South Wales, Tas, and ACT. We looked at how people were operating, because every repair cafe, there is not, yourselves, there is not one magic formula. Everybody wants to do it differently. Some people don't want to have any communication at all. They just want to get on and do what they do. That's fine. Other people like to feel part of a bigger group. So we were interested to know how you operated, when you operated, and how you used what system you use to book in repairs. One thing that was interesting is at this time, which was a couple of years ago, most of the repair cafes, 56.7% of repair cafes, only took kind of walk-ins. But what we have seen is increasingly people are using systems like TryBooking or HumanTix or whatever, just to help them manage, kind of like a little speed dating between repairers and their people bringing things in. So you can kind of work out what people are bringing in and if you've got the right people, etc., so that repairers don't turn up and there's no business for them, or the other way around. So we asked you about, are you collecting data? And some do, some don't. Some enter data into the Repair Monitor or the Open Data Alliance, which is fantastic. They're international collections, and I can talk more about that. But a lot of people were giving advice about what, if you couldn't fix things, how to recycle or deal with your product at end of life. But a lot of people were working out, what the product was. If it's electrical, some people take details of the model number and brand so that we can track. We can deal with the ACCC if we know that a particular brand's product in a particular category are constantly failing for a simple fault. If we can gather that kind of data, we can have conversations with the consumer competition kind of watchdog. So some of that data is really helpful, but we don't put pressure on anyone to do that, because we know how busy you are just doing the business of a repair cafe. So in terms of, we looked at what types of skills, what things came in: clothing, electrical, repairs, electronics, jewelry, how much you were doing, how long you did them for, how you got your volunteers, and how you actually went about getting them. Most repair cafes in Australia use Facebook. Not all of them, but most do. And that is a way in which they advertise their events and obviously recruit people and recruit visitors as well. We were able to draw some of the open responses that people gave us into broad themes about the positive impacts of Australian repair cafes. And I'm probably telling you things that you already know, that you contribute a huge amount to saving from landfill. So there's the environmental aspects of reducing waste. The social engagement is really important, and we really emphasise that to government at all levels about the importance of the joy that people get from not only volunteering but also having things fixed. So people come together, they chat, they discuss things, they problem solve, there's critical thinking and a fantastic sharing of knowledge. There's also social opportunities. It includes people from different language groups, from different nationalities, and people who are retired and people who work full-time, and young people. I know at the Gap and many other repair cafes, there's a kids kind of tinker table, which is a beautiful idea where kids are encouraged to come along and try and fix things, which is great. So the mental health and well-being benefits of volunteering as well as fixing. But economically, and this is a current theme with our federal government, is they're focused on cost of living and productivity gains. And we can tell them that economically people are saving money if their things are fixed, and particularly electronic and electrical things, or clothing as well. But it also serves this broader purpose of awareness raising of circular economy, the need to keep our products in use for longer, and how we can, promote this as a really circular action in our community. It's place-based activity in our suburbs where people can come to for free, and learn things about how to fix things and why it's important that we fix things and not buy new things for the economy, for our pockets, and for the environment. So, but the important educational knowledge, skill sharing that happens. So satisfaction levels are off the charts. We know that people who come to repair cafes love them. They always have a positive experience, and most people want more repair cafes more often. And that's not only the people who visit them, that's the people who work in the repair cafes. So there's a lot of value that people feel, and joy that the repairers feel from coming along to a repair cafe as a volunteer. So 91% of our volunteers said, I just love it. I love sharing the knowledge I have. I feel good. I love to meet new people. I've made new friends. I'm raising awareness. It's great to see stuff not thrown out. So there's so many good messages that we see. And we also identified the challenges that you would all probably be familiar with. The electrical repair is really problematic, and I'm happy to talk more about that. How we kind of get a reliable pool of volunteers, because we appreciate that lives are busy, and we can't always rely upon the same people coming. There is a general frustration at the poor standards, design standards, and manufacturing standards that we're seeing in the new modern products. Glues used, not screws. You can't take a toaster apart like you used to be able to. The quality of fabrics and clothing is not as good as it used to be. So do you spend hours taking out a zip of a very poorly made polyester dress, or whereas if it was a better quality garment that would last for longer? But some people argue, if I don't fix that zip, well, that polyester will end in landfill, and that's probably doing more harm. So we've all been there. We understand all of those challenges. Ensuring compliancy with the government regulations around electrical repair, getting proper insurance and getting proper premises, the time and energy that it takes to run a repair cafe once a month or once every 2 months, the fact that you can't get spare parts, tools, and information, that's part of the broader right to repair movement that we've identified, and not knowing the kind of reliability of your repair visitors as well as repair cafes. I'm not really sure of, and I'll hear from you about many repair cafes. There might be times when your numbers are down in terms of people, but generally the feedback I have across Australia is that, as I said, most people want, as the word gets out, more people want to bring more things in, and they just want repair cafes more often, which is a challenge for it when it's a volunteer movement. Insurance and getting an income stream. Some people get small bits of funding, and we'll talk about that as well, and whether you're able to get insurance. I understand that about 12 repair cafes around Australia are currently operating under the AMSA insurance, with the Australian Men's Shed insurance policy, and we can talk about that as well. The last question that we asked in our surveys is, what do people in repair cafes really want to help? What would help them elevate? And we had an overwhelming kind of theme that the creation of a central organisation that would help manage, support, and elevate repair cafes, whether it's a repair and share network or whatever it is, but a voice that could talk to government and represent your community is something that everyone could see benefit in. Alternatively, or in addition to, it's very hard to build a national network, but because you're all in, there's groups of you in ACT, New South Wales, wherever, it's probably better, like in ACT, to build a local network. And once you have your 5 or 6 or 8 or 10 or 12 groups together talking, networking, that you can then come together and we can build from the ground up. And whether we could, get support for state and territory and regional, or ultimately to have some kind of single national voice. For 5 years, many of us have been talking to different levels of government and saying, instead of giving $500 to an individual repair cafe to help them buy an apron or a test and tag machine, if you could fund a convener for that group of repair cafes to help them do data collection better, to help them coordinate their offerings so that they're in terms of organizing that they're on different weekends and that you can advertise when they're available, and help you with a pool of volunteers and do training around, testing and tagging or whatever. But we have been arguing that if, instead of just trying to throw a little bit of money, kind of splatter paint everywhere, if they can provide money to help coordinate, I think we've seen in other jurisdictions that that's really benefited us. So we talk to them about trying to build a repair cafe network, and part of these conversations that we want to have with you is, what do you see that might look like? And some people think that will be too prescriptive and problematic, but there may be some benefits, and it's a question of weighing what will work for your group and what will not. So really, one idea that was just given to me by Jane, she's not joining us tonight, but I don't know, and this is something I'm going to leave this here for you to talk about this, but today I did a bit of a Google search for those repair cafes that use Try Booking. And I know that not everybody does and you don't want to, but I noticed that when you go into, this was my Google search today, Try Booking Repair Cafe, what this does is actually Try Booking will show all of the availability of when the next repair cafe is coming up. So this is something that currently we don't have and we can't provide because everybody does their own thing and you've all got your individual Facebook sites. But if I was in Queensland and I said, well, when's the next repair cafe in my region, I could see, for example, that Bayside, Redcliffe or the Gap or Woolloongabba, when their dates are. And that was something that I wasn't aware of. You all might be aware of that. But I thought that was kind of an interesting benefit of just using Try Booking as a system to book your repairers, in. But that is, I'm not promoting that as a solution, but I'm just saying that was something I thought I wasn't aware of, and I thought that was quite interesting. So over to you. I just wanted to give you a bit of an introduction, but I just wanted to hand over to you and I'll stop sharing. But do you want to, or do you think it will be of benefit to your repair cafes in your local region, in your state, to be able to build some kind of coordination between you so that you can share some knowledge about, if someone wants to start a new repair cafe, is there a mentor system that you can offer to them? Everybody does things differently. So that's, something I thought that would be good. So if you want to, we're not hit by a storm. That was what I was really worried about. If you want to turn your cameras on and if you want to put your questions in the chat, I can read them out. Or if you put your hand up, because we've got, I think, 25 people online now. And there might be some people, sorry if I didn't mention you in the overall welcome. If you're here and I didn't mention you, feel free. So perhaps I'll open it to you now because I'd like to hear from you. Was that helpful? And, you know, for 5 years, we've been advocating for repair cafes. And, you know, I think the 2023 survey gave us some data, but there's obviously a lot more repair cafes now, and we're spread all around Australia. And what might work for some areas may not work for others. And I really, you know, the ACT, we've got people here from Sea Change who have actually got funding to help coordinate and elevate a bit of a network in ACT. So I think that's a good opportunity.
Yeah, hi Leanne, thanks for all that. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Who is this?
Okay.
Sorry.
John Tanner from Repair Cafe The Grove.
Yes.
Yeah, no, that's all good. I think what we find is there's quite a bit of, we swap our volunteers around a bit. So several of our volunteers are also volunteering for other repair cafes. And that provides a sort of a natural knowledge sharing without having to organise, because otherwise
Yes.
it would just be another thing to organise. The big focus I had last year with ours, because I do the database and the website, was to overcome the problem we had of people filling in a registration form where we try to capture the details about what they're bringing in to repair, and then capture the details about what was done while it was there. But people were hopeless at filling in the form. They're just in a hurry. They want to get their thing fixed. So they'd scribble something in it and it really wasn't useful. So we set about trying to improve the capture of better data. And one way we did that was to change the online booking form. We don't use Try Booking, we use one called Weber Booking. And that we can have customized registration forms on there. So people actually fill that form in while they're booking, when they're actually interested in, because they want to book. So they've got a positive incentive. And that worked quite well for a while. But then unfortunately, the developers of that software decided to do an upgrade, which actually was a good upgrade, but they completely changed how their booking forms worked. And we had it out of action for 3 months. And now I've got to redo all the booking forms to restore that. So what I hoped we would finish last year might have to get finished next year.
Okay.
And the other thing I think thinking of doing is that maybe having another volunteer. So we have our volunteer fixers and our volunteer helpers. It might be a good idea for us, I think, to get a volunteer helper to look at the exit as people are leaving, have a look at their form and capture the stuff there and make sure that we've got good details. And so I think that wouldn't be too hard to do now. We have actually got enough volunteers to cover that role.
That's a great idea. Because a lot of repair cafes overseas actually allocate one of their helpers as a kind of, you know, a data officer, as in they're responsible for taking the form. They are doing a lot of the double checking to make sure that people, you know, people are happy to put their name down, but then the repairers are too busy to fill out what they did and what was wrong with it. But sometimes if you have enough volunteers, having a special person to do that, and then the entry at the end of the day would be amazing. So I've just got, thanks, John. I'm going to do, we've got Robin, who's got his hand up, and then we've got 4 people at the moment. So I'll just go through. Robin, would you like to start?
Yes, I'm from
Sorry, thank you.
Repair Cafe. We don't have a booking system. We have 3 administration people at the front desk who welcome people and help them fill out the form and weigh the items so we know how much we're keeping out of landfill. And then the repairer writes a comment and the visitor writes a comment on their form, and that's all put on a spreadsheet. I do that when I get home. The other thing is we're very lucky we use a U3A building at no cost, and because it's a Shire building, we pay $25 a session for our insurance to the Shire. I just have to apply for that each month. So initially for the first year, it was well over $1,000 for 11 sessions. So it was great. We found the Shire would insure us for that. The other thing is we're a multicultural society, and we had a Chinese gentleman join almost from when we started nearly 4 years ago. And he's brought other repairers in from the community. Some of them don't speak English, but it's also bringing, multicultural people in, visitors to the cafe, because they know they'll be able to talk to the repairers.
That's
So
fantastic.
there's a whole community, a sub-community, if you like, that Danjaw's brought in, including another repairer, and they're just so skilled. It's just amazing.
That's so true, Robin. Thank you for that. It's good to hear about look, we know across Australia that city council premises are great premises, or local community ones that have insurance, because that's really manageable and it's a low cost insurance. It's the ones that are operating in other venues that have more challenges. But this issue around inclusivity of different communities, we find that even if you don't have English as your first language, the language of repair is so universal that people, if you show someone how to fix something or mend something, you don't need to have the language, and it builds a beautiful connection in communities that may not otherwise happen. So that's wonderful to hear that. Anne, you've got a point, and then we'll go to Mitra.
Thank you. I wanted to offer a suggestion about how government support would be appreciated.
Great.
As you know, in Queensland, Roger is an amazing contributor in the electrical area between, as you said, 5 repair cafes. Without Roger, we would be severely handicapped. And there is a crying need for getting our people who could be doing electrical repairs certified. So we haven't actually had a problem getting technical people, even like electrical engineers. We've got 2 electrical engineers among our volunteers, electronic people who've done electronic qualifications and things, but they haven't got the certification. So actual funding to support training to get suitable people certified would be very, very valuable.
Thanks, Anne. Queensland's in a unique situation, and that is because you have to actually be a licensed and registered electrician in Queensland, not just certified. So, I'm happy to, that's because we have the Electrical Safety Act in Queensland, which other states don't have, and that's a particular challenge. Mitra, I know that you have to go. How can
I don't have to? I don't have to go. I've got a question about electrical repairs, but I did want to make the point that I would really love to have more of these events where we actually talk to the other repair cafes, not an hour's presentation, because the Monash event was just the same. There was like total of about 10, 15 minutes talking to the other RCs in a 2-hour event. And that's why we didn't go to Canberra, apart from the cost. So even though we're probably one of the most active repair cafes in Australia, we're roughly about 30 people once a week. So I just want to put that out there, that I probably wouldn't come to the next one of these if it's going to be another hour presentation.
No, thanks, Mitra. Look, that's great feedback. The trouble that I have is I actually had requests to actually do a bit of a catch up for people who were interested. So I'm happy to run the challenge. What I'm asking Mitra is, for this group, is if you want to run more regular meetings and online meetings for your area, you need just someone to be able to organise that. So whether it's in your state or your region, who would like to do that? Because if you want to host a meeting, it's just a Teams invite to your local.
It's not about that. This was advertised as a networking event, an hour's presentation. And I don't think we learned anything from that, and certainly it could have been sent around in a video beforehand. So whereas we've got all these great RCs on the line, and we have had no opportunity to actually interact with them. We're just like 20 minutes left.
This is your opportunity, Mitra. This is what I'm asking.
Right.
What would you like to see? How can we elevate your area?
Sorry, what do you mean elevate our area?
How can you build a better connection with you're very successful in your repair cafe. How can you mentor other repair cafes, and how can you build a network in your area?
So, well, physical area is not so important, but the geographical area, we're happy to share. It's just that when we go to these events, we find there's actually no sharing.
Mitra, would you like to? Yeah, Mitra, I'm happy to come and set up a meeting for your group in your area, your geographic area, so you can talk about your local areas, your issues in your local areas. So it's not about
geographical area. It's not about geographical area. It's about these gatherings when we get together online, actually having interaction between the repair cafes and not listening to more presentations of more academic research, which seems to be what happens every time, which is why nobody else at the group was actually interested in turning up to this
Mitra,
one.
Are you in Mullumbimby?
Yeah.
Yeah. So in New South Wales, you've got Gabrielle in Lake Mac, and Gabrielle, you're here. Yeah. Gabrielle, I know that you're really interested in connecting with people in New South Wales. Do you want to have a chat?
Thanks, Leanne. Yes, I'd love to do that. I think that we don't need to restrict it just to our area. I think it would be great if it's online. I think the more the merrier. And if we just got together a couple of times a year to thresh out the positives and the negatives and where we can improve, I think that's a great idea. And I'd be happy to coordinate that.
I love to hear that, Gabrielle. Look, it is as simple as sending out an invite to a Teams meeting, and you can meet every month, you can meet every couple of weeks. And that's why I think it's really important that people who want to talk to each other do that. And that's what we're wanting to see. You know, that's the purpose of trying to say how other people are doing it. And Gabriel, if you want to, I can help you, work out how to do it. All you have to do is basically send out an invite and manage the invites. So you and Mitra can talk tomorrow if you like.
Great. We just need to connect with emails. That'd be great.
Yeah. Well, you're both on here. What I think you can do is everyone, for the legal privacy reasons, I can't share emails unless I get all of your permission to do that. I can share everyone's email with each other. If you all agree to do that, I can't do that any other way. But you can talk to each other offline or in the chat. You can put your emails and say, please contact me if you want to have a meeting. You can do that yourselves, but I can't share your email for legal reasons. I'm sorry. That's just the reality of things. But so in New South Wales, we've got Mira at Mullumbimby, Gabriel at Lake Mac. We've got Wendy from North Sydney. Wendy, are you there too?
I think, Leanne, the point is not about geography. It's actually really nice when we talk to people from all over the country. The point is having more interaction at these meetings, more breakout groups and things like that, and less sitting listening to presentations. I actually had a question. I'd love to talk to the other electrical repairers and try and figure out how they solved the problem we're dealing with. There's been no opportunity.
Well, this is your opportunity. Mitra, ask the question now. You've got electrical repairers here. You've got
Roger. The question was, I'm interested in how people are solving the electrical repair problem. We've got electrical repairs. The problem is that legally we should be doing tag and test. But the challenge with tag and test, is that we've got the machine and we can run the machine, but we've got nobody who will do it because the licensed electricians won't do it because they're worried about putting their name on something, avoiding the insurance, which takes away their livelihood. And the people who are not licensed insurers, they have to go through a really long certification. It's like a complete day wasted for something that actually takes 10 minutes. And
Mitra, can I answer your question from a Queensland perspective? It's Les here from Repair Cafe Redcliffe Peninsula. So as Leanne has alluded to, Queensland's very different. So we have 3 qualified electricians at our Redcliffe Repair Cafe. I'm actually four, so we're actually quite lucky in having 4 qualified electricians. So we have an electrical triage process. So nothing comes in unless it goes through the electrical triage process. We test and tag everything. So we test everything as it comes into the electrical section. We have a totally separate electrical area. Everything is tested so that we know that, and it's actually only tested by a qualified electrician, which we have 2 main people doing that. So they do the testing first before it goes to our volunteers, repairers to assess and hopefully repair. So that's really important. And then when it comes out of the triage process, we do a double check again that anything that's fixed, it is electrically tagged, tested and tagged. Anything that's not repaired or repairable, we cut the cord so it can't be reused. So in Queensland, just to repeat, Queensland has really strict requirements. We're pretty confident that we probably have a really good process, but like all of us, until it's tested by insurance, somebody getting injured or whatever, hopefully that will never happen. We will never know whether our procedures that we have in place are actually really as good as what we think they are. Now, our procedures we have in place were set up by our 4 qualified electricians. They spent a lot of time for it, doing it. So most repair cafes in Southeast Queensland now use this electrical triage process we have, which I'm happy to share with anybody via Leanne. If you want to send Leanne an email or whatever, I'm happy to share our process. But I've got to specify it is for Queensland, but I think it could be used around Australia if others
if you can get the qualified electricians in, because most of the people we have who are skilled at it are not qualified electricians. They have some other. They're not tradies. They have other skills, because the qualified electricians do that for their work. They don't want to do it on their volunteer time. So
very quickly, I know there's probably I don't want to take up time. We actually have these people who actually run businesses, and I promote their businesses every time we possibly can on Facebook. So it's a you scratch my back, we scratch theirs, and we've got a really good relationship going where these electricians actually get a lot of work because they're actually involved with us. So, and it works really well. We just promote them all the time on our Facebook.
Thanks, Les. Yeah, that's really true. I think there's an opportunity, and we've seen that across Australia, where people wear their work gear, and some are happy to volunteer. A licensed electrician is happy to volunteer their time, but they actually get referrals from their business, so it does help them. People are putting their emails feel free to share your email in the chat. This will be recorded, but if you want to connect with each other, this is the purpose of these calls. So please do that so you can arrange to email directly or hook up a meeting. David's actually suggested in the chat that there's a Facebook option to do a Facebook group. And David, did you want to speak about that? And sorry, Robin, I'll come to you. And David, are you there?
Yeah. Sorry, I was just going to say there's an existing Facebook group, the Repair Groups Australia, which has got 284 members, which I'm sure a lot of you are in. But that's another way. It's a great way to instigate to set up your own meetings, meetups. You might want to suggest a topic, and you can network through everyone there rather than having to try and create yet another email list. Just another option.
Thanks, David. Robin? I think you're muted.
When we put up for funding for a test and tag machine when we set up, I also put in for funding for 4 people to do the test and tag training, which they did. So we've got 4 people. This is in Victoria, but we also have 2 retired electricians as well. So I think we're pretty well covered with our electrical. There's always several people with their test and tag training. And likewise, if something's not repaired, we cut the cord off and tell them how to dispose of it in an environmentally sound way. There was in Geelong somewhere where they could take things, but it's closed at the moment.
Thanks, Robin. Is there anyone else who'd like to connect, or there's lots of emails going in, so there's opportunity for you all to get together. We have a couple of hundred volunteers on our database, but we can't kind of connect you all unless you want to be connected. So that's the important thing about connecting to each other. And I'm not suggesting it should be geographic, but if you want to, in WA or South Australia or Tassie, online is obviously easier. If you share emails, you can connect up and jump on a call with each other. So
Leanne, it's Les, sorry. A lot of people are putting their emails in. I can't capture them all. Can your office capture all these emails? Because they've obviously given their permission with their email addresses on here now. Can you please share it to everybody? Because they're obviously...
Yes, the chat and this session, like everything else, will be recorded. So all of those details will be available to you once the recording's uploaded.
Right, so it's up to us to get together to progress a group, Australia-wide or whatever.
Well, this is a challenge, I think, Les, is everybody wants something different. So
all right, can I make a suggestion? If everybody wants to email me, I'm going to put it in here now. Our email address. You can contact me, and we'll set up some sort of a group to get it all happening. There you go. It's all there. Just put it up now. People want to email me, and we can set up a group. We'll take it from there. Can I also make, while I'm chatting now, does anybody want to know how we set up the try booking process and why I set it up?
I think we've recorded that, Les, on one of the earlier sessions, but it'd be useful if you want to go through, because it is really a useful system, isn't it?
Yes. All right. Well, do you want me to? I'll talk about it very quickly.
Yeah, that's good.
So,
we can.
3 years ago, we've had it going now. It's probably 3 years. Yeah. So we were getting. I'm very community oriented, and I like to have all of our repairers busy when they come to a workshop as volunteers. I'm sure you probably all have the same thing. You know, we don't want people spending half an hour or 40 minutes driving to an event and just sitting there twiddling their thumbs. So we decided that we would actually set up a process, a booking system. The try booking system is what we use, so that we know we can actually get reports on as we lead up to our monthly workshops as to who's booked out and who doesn't have any bookings, or who might have one and they've still got 3 left that we can actually try and push along through our social media to get them a booking. So my aim is to have everybody busy at every workshop we have every month, because that's what they come in to do, and they love it. So that's what we try to do. It doesn't happen every time, but I think we've probably got a pretty good rate of success for the majority of our volunteer repairers. We have 4 appointments each workshop. Most of them probably get 4 or 3, sometimes 2. It varies each month. So it works for us, because then we know, and we also send a reminder out to the people who actually have made an appointment, so it reminds them as well. We do have some not turning up, but that's just standard. You know, there's always all sorts of reasons why. The other thing is we do actually charge a $5 booking fee, which is really successful because it helps us fund our repair cafes, and nobody balks at it at all. And it's I laboured over it. I thought, should we do it? Should we not do it? Because of, you know, we're the philosophy of the repair movement. But we took the plunge, and it works. Nobody budges, so everybody's happy. In fact, we still get donations.
And most cafes that use Try Booking, Les, also allow walk-ins as well. They just manage them, so it's not kind of either or. They kind of do both. So, thanks for that.
If anybody wants to email me, I can send them our Try Booking process if they want to get involved. I think it's really good. It saves us a lot of work.
That's great. Thanks, Liz. There's a lot of people on the call. Are there other people who've got suggestions or ideas of how to make things easier?
Sorry, Leanne, if I can just say, somebody asked the question, with the $5 fee, any issue where the item can't be repaired? What we stipulate when we, in the Try Booking process, we specify that it is a donation, and it's not refundable. So it's considered as a donation to help us help our operations. Nobody has a problem with it, honestly. We might get the odd one that asks for a refund, and you know what? I just give it to them. It's easy to refund the money. You don't want to hassles with people.
Yeah, good point.
99% of them are really good.
Yeah, a lot of people do use Try Booking, and I think across all the platforms, that's the most popular one that repair cafes use. We use it in the university one because we can then work out how many sewers and menders we need on a particular day compared to other repairers as well.
That's right. That's exactly right. Can I answer another question about it, Leanne, if that's possible?
Yeah, it's yours. Yeah.
It says the question is, how are your donations if you charge a booking fee? We don't actually, because we do the booking fee, we don't actually ask people on the day, can you make a donation? People they're so impressed, as I'm sure all the other repair cafes have the same response that we get, is we love what you're doing. Here's $50 or here's $20. We don't ask for it. We don't ask for donations now because we do get the $5 fee. But we still get it. So yeah.
And congratulations on your recent award. Liz's Repair Cafe just won an award. So congratulations on that. Two awards. Fantastic work. Do you want to tell people what they were?
Well, where we are in the Moreton Bay region, they have Moreton Bay Innovation and Technology, Moreton Bay Innovation and Environment Awards. And we entered 3 different awards last year, and we were successful in winning 2 of them. I was overseas at the time, and I was coming back on a flight from Europe, and 2 of our amazing volunteer repairers went along, and they sent me a photo of 1 award, and we got to Dubai on the way home, and it's a photo of 2 awards. So it was like, whoa. I would strongly recommend going for awards, folks, because it's not about us. It's actually about promoting the repair movement, and you'd be amazed. People go, wow. And now I think it's actually improved our standing in the community, and people are a lot more aware of what we do.
No, it's true. That's fantastic. And there have been other repair cafes around Australia as well that have got kind of different types of recognitions and awards. So it's wonderful because it does raise the profile of the wonderful work that you're doing in repair cafes. So Gabriel's offered and Les has offered to get you all together, on whatever. It's always hard to pick a day and a time for people, but you can all work that out. And as I've said, I'm happy this email, and if everyone wants to put their hand up, I'm allowed to share your emails with each other if you want that, if you all kind of give me a thumbs up. Or we can, when we release this recording, the emails will be in the chat. So we've got, sorry, Les, your hand is still up. We've got Anita, and then we've got Kirsten. Oh, was that just a general hands up to sharing emails? Yes?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've got 54 people. Yeah, sorry.
Did you want me to say what I was going to say?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to. I'm actually managing the Tinkerage space in Shellharbour, New South Wales, and it's slightly different from a repair cafe structure. We actually sit underneath Resource Recovery Australia that have the contract for resource recovery site with our council. So we run the tip there. We have a big reuse shop, and the Tinkerage is situated there. And so we don't have a problem with having to pay rent. I think it's, in some ways, it's kind of an ideal spot to have a repair cafe, because people that are coming by, they have to go past the Tinkerage to get rid of their things. So there's the opportunity to drop it into us to fix it before that happens. And it also is a great place for spare parts. Like whenever I need an extra something to fix something, it's always just in the shop. It just is part of the landfill that we save. So every day the truck goes up and down and collects more stuff and brings it back. And we just use that stuff to fix things with. It just is an interesting place to have a repair cafe. We also operate a little bit like a tool library, but the tools all stay there. So some people just come and need something chopped in half or a hole drilled in something, or yeah, it's an interesting model.
That's a fantastic model, and something that's been promoted, I think, because, you know, the old resource recovery site or tip sites are great places for repair and reuse. And then there's some people who don't really, I mean, that's a great place. And yet we get feedback from some repair cafes say that they don't really want to be at that site. They'd rather be in the centre of town or
totally.
in the high street.
I think you need both things.
You know?
I think
exactly.
you need both things. But it also solves the problem of tag and testing, because everything has to be tag and tests. So and also what you do with the things that you can't fix, it just is all in the one site. Like
that's what's so good. And we try to talk to the waste companies about providing, I mean, I think your model is a fantastic one at the Tinkerage with the Resource Recovery Australia, but not every waste, you know, resource recovery site is happy to have a repair cafe. And
totally.
We're trying to get them to realise that it's a great opportunity, because yours is really a good model of how it can work so well.
It just is an extra, it's not the answer, it just is another little piece of the puzzle, you know.
That's exactly right. We need everything. We need it everywhere. Yeah, that's great. Thank you very much, Anita. Anyone else? Have we got Kath there from Sea Change? She gone? No. That's okay. So there's lots of emails there. So it is fantastic to hear Les or Gabrielle or whoever. Kirsten, did you want to say?
Yeah, although it sounds like we're wrapping up, but because it's coming towards the end of the year, I'd be interested in how people are thanking their volunteers. Like, are people celebrating the achievements of the repair cafes being the end of the year, that sort of thing? Or
what a nice idea.
Yeah, well, we're having Christmas lunch together.
Yeah, we had Christmas lunch last Saturday. Very nice.
Alison, what about you?
Oh, hi, everyone. I'm from Albury-Wodonga. I've been putting a few things in the chat tonight.
Great.
One of the photos I shared was from our 10th birthday celebration that we had on the 1st of November, which showed our awards, which I just mentioned in another chat. So what we do to thank our volunteers, for all the work they've done throughout the year is in January, we don't have a repair cafe, but we have a launch lunch for the coming year, where we invite all of our volunteers to come along to reconnect and see what everyone's been doing over the last month, and to just catch up and reconnect with everyone. And that's a way to thank our volunteers for the work they've done the previous year, and to get them motivated to, come back and give more of their time for the upcoming year. We have a committee of 7 who get the Repair Cafe running every month, and the committee decides and have decided. So if we're going to do it again next year, which I would like to, we subsidise their meal from the donations that we receive. So we think that's a great way to keep the volunteers motivated, and just to have them reconnect and to stay on the books, really, because sometimes it is hard to keep the volunteers on the books.
Yeah, thanks, Alison. Yeah, that's everyone says the same thing, that they challenge trying to keep their volunteers happy. And, you know, it's such a, people give so much time.
Yes, that's for sure. And look, I don't think that any of our visitors who come along, and there's some visitors we see month after month after month, like you spoke about earlier, it is all about the community coming together. It's some people, it's their way to connect with people. And I don't think any of them, if we were to take a survey of them, there wouldn't be one of them that would say, no, that's a bad idea. I don't want you to use my donation for you guys to go off and have lunch.
Yeah, that's so true.
Because they're all so appreciative. Nearly, I would say, everyone that comes through the door is happy with the service. We're friendly. We're, you know, honest, reliable, all that type of stuff. And people are just so happy. This year we have had a 91% success rate.
That's wonderful. Congratulations, that's fantastic. Leah, we haven't heard from you, so I might go Leah, then Robin. Leah, did you?
Everyone, I'm Leah from Victoria and the St Kilda Repair Cafe. Can you hear me okay? Is that all right?
Yeah.
Lovely. It's so nice to meet everyone. I think I'm one of the newcomers. I haven't been to one of these before. I had a question, just wondering if anybody has done this before. Has anyone sort of run like a repair, like an upskilling night for their repairers, where they can share tips and tricks on how they've repaired certain things or an issue that they've come across a few times? Just thinking it would be nice, or I'm thinking about it now and thinking, well, we could probably harness the knowledge of Australia-wide, that sort of like upskilling within our own group and also community members, but then that becomes a little bit more complicated. But yes, has anyone had that experience? Nope, I wasn't sure.
I do know that some repair cafes have had a little extra session for new volunteers, so that they do some training. So it's a great idea, Leah, and I think you know, providing that opportunity would be wonderful, and you're getting lots of love around the meeting. So great idea.
Can I also share a little something else?
Yeah, of course.
So I've been volunteering at the St Kilda Repair Cafe in Victoria for about two and a bit years, And I've also now been part of starting up a smaller repair cafe from the ground up. So I've kind of seen how like a really big one runs, and we, I think, go through about, well, for us it's big, but 60 or 70 items a month at St Kilda versus maybe 10 items at our other one, which is still where we've only just started. So hearing about the electrical issues and figuring out insurance and testing and tagging and how to get around that is something that I have been dealing with a lot lately. So I'm on the same page with everyone else. I think Mitra, you mentioned that as well. We've it's very complicated, and as everyone knows, I don't really have the right answer, I don't think. But I did want to mention that somebody was talking about moving from a paper-based system where the people, the attendees would fill in their details and then fill them out on the way out, but then the loss of details. So we've just moved from that kind of system to more of like a tracking system at the front desk where there'll be one volunteer that does sign in, and then I was running the sign out sort of as catching people as they went. And it sort of solved a lot of issues for us, because with the paper-based sheets, we couldn't read their handwriting. Some people didn't know exactly what was wrong with their item. So having them come and interact with us where we weigh it and then talk them through, you know, like when you plug it in to the wall, does anything happen to the device? You know, like just breaking it down, or, oh, it broke, did you bring all the pieces with you? That sort of thing. We found that this, like having a main person with sign in and sign out, we got a lot more data recorded, and we got a lot more photos and really good feedback of repaired items, which is really great to be able to share. So we had a lot of success, but I think other people would really understand this. Every month is different. Like our volunteers, our admin people, the community members, every month is different. And one time we make an adjustment one month, and then we get feedback, and it was the exact feedback that we just updated the month before, because you just never know what's going to happen. So we're just sort of, you know, month by month making little improvements and trying to figure it out. But I'm really loving hearing everyone and looking forward to meeting up with all the other people in the emails and with Les to see if we can share and collaborate and share tips and tricks. So thanks everybody for all of your information tonight.
That's great, Leah. Thank you. And I think the feeling's mutual. Everyone, it's great. We just want to bring everyone together. So, and it's up to you guys to kind of connect and take your conversations on. Robin, sorry to jump over you.
Oh, yes.
Can I just add some? Oh, sorry, Robin. Sorry. My apologies.
Okay. When the people visitors have something repaired, they write a comment, but the repairers never get to see that. So it's on an Excel spreadsheet. So I regularly cut and paste that into a Word document and hand it round so that they can see all the positive comments that have been made, you know, because the repairers don't get to see the forms. So they really appreciate that. I also make cakes regularly and give them all. I make stuff, a plate of stuff for them that I'll give them at the next repair cafe, Christmas type stuff. And yes, we do the lunch in the February. Everybody's too busy to do it in December, so we do the launch lunch, as you call it, in February.
Thanks, Robin. Leah again, and then John, is that right? Oh, no, you're down. John?
Yeah, I think that's really important that we make sure that the volunteer fixes particularly get good feedback. And so what we do is the Monday immediately after the repair cafe, I do a whole analysis of all of the repairs that happen and all the rest of it, and send a report out so they get an immediate thing. And in that, I include just verbatim from the repair forms, all of the positive comments that people have made, so that it's closely connected to the actual event where people were doing things. They'll remember the person they worked with and that kind of thing. And that seems to be a positive thing to do, just to make sure they know they're getting recognition.
That's fantastic and lovely. I'm happy to say, keep the meeting open if you want to keep talking. So if anyone else has got any ideas or sharing, or, I know it's getting late, so you whatever you guys want to do.
Can I add to what Leah was saying? It's Les from Redcliffe. From the other end of the process, with the try booking process, we actually ask some questions when people book it. As we ask what is wrong with the item. We also ask them what type of computer is it? Is it an Apple or an Android or whatever? And there's a couple of other questions we ask, which I can't remember what they are right now, but it actually helps our repairers, because what we do is when we close off the bookings on the Thursday before the Saturday repair cafe, the try booking system, we can spit out an Excel spreadsheet which has all the information we need. You can select what you want. We obviously, for privacy reasons, we don't share the private details of the people with the whole of our community. We just share the names and a few other details. But the repairers all get the details about what is wrong with the item, and what the item is, the model or whatever, and other specific questions are answered as well. So it actually really helps our repairers to actually repair for the repair cafe by bringing along certain things that they may not have thought about bringing before. Because a lot of repairers, as you probably all know, they can bring boxes and boxes of stuff in, because we just, as somebody alluded to earlier, you don't know what you're going to get. Every workshop's different and every item's different. So this actually helps our repairers bring in specific items that might actually help.
And Les, some people even use the try booking system to ask people if you've got a photo of what it is and what's broken about it. They actually upload photos as well, so it really gives more information as well. So there's lots of benefits, I think.
That's interesting, because I haven't found how you can actually put photos on try booking. I would love to know, because I actually talked to try booking, and mind you, that was 2 years ago, and they said we couldn't add photos. So maybe that's a new thing they've added. I'd love to know from somebody on here who is using try booking that actually can tell us how photos can be added, because I would love that.
Ask not about the bookings, about the photos, but how does your system account for somebody might bring in an item and now they've booked for one of the 4 spots, and when they bring it in, it actually takes about 1 minute to figure out that's not something that we can repair?
Yeah, that's a really good question. That happens, but probably infrequently.
Okay, interesting.
And sometimes the beauty of this reporting system in the back end of try booking is every now and again I'll look at it and I might be able to answer some questions straight away. So then it actually frees up an appointment for somebody else.
That was one of the reasons we didn't choose it, because it was just like people will come in and we just won't even know until we get there, and it might be 1 minute in, sorry, we can't do that, or it could take an hour. And then,
Yes.
Do you give people a time booking, and then, but do we give them half an hour, or do we not put a time booking on it because it's that important?
That doesn't happen that often, to be honest. Most of our appointments are pretty full. In fact, our repairers, they're particularly electrical, like I'm sure other repair cafes are the same. Electrical are always full, always. and I guarantee they'll probably take 30 minutes to 45 minutes. But also, sometimes you can't repair them, so they might go away and get parts and come back the next month or whatever. But our appointments are 45 minutes. We started with 30, but we've made it 45 minutes, and that seems to work out pretty well on average.
People that book.
Oh, sorry, Leah. Just before, I don't know if you're following the chat, Les, but Erin and Padma from the Gap have said that they've worked out with an automated email how they can get photos of things. So
yes,
you can chat. Yeah,
I saw that. Thank you.
I was wondering how does it work if you've got 45-minute bookings? Do you then tell the attendees to come at a certain time, or do they just come at this?
Okay, so in the try booking system, to get an idea how it works, if you go into try booking and just look up Repair Cafe Redcliffe Peninsula, you'll see our 6th of December workshop. People can go in there. We have 4 bookings at each workshop for each repairer. They can go in and choose a particular time. It's either 8:30, 9:15. We've changed it a bit in recent times to spread the load of the appointments out. We do have separate different times now, but they'll choose a time. Might be 8:30, it might be 10 a.m. or whatever. And then what happens is the try booking system, when they go through the process of booking, the try booking system sends them an email with all the booking details. So they've got it. And I send them out a reminder email 2 days before saying, hey, remember you've got a booking coming up on Saturday. Love to see you. Look forward to seeing you.
And how do you then tell your repairers what they're going to get?
Yes. Yeah, good question. So on the Thursday when we close off, the back end system, we do up it spits out an Excel spreadsheet. I then massage that and I'll work out which, for example, we've got 4 electrical repairers. I'll work out which one I think might be better for each of the 4 repairers, knowing their skills. And like we've got an apprentice, right? So he works with the electrician who he works for, but he only works on things that he's actually allowed to work on by his boss, basically, who works with us. We allocate them all to the repairers. Sometimes it doesn't work that way, but mostly each repairer will do what we give them.
Do you send an individual email to each repair person?
Sorry to answer that. So the actual Excel spreadsheet, I email it out to all of our volunteer team on the Thursday night. So they've got at least a day and a half or so to have a look at it, and they all know it's coming.
And then if one of them drops out on the day, something happens. So how do you manage that?
We just let it go. If people don't turn up, they don't get a refund. They know that.
No, sorry, I meant your volunteer repairers. They've got 4 bookings to fill.
Yes. That doesn't happen that often, but sometimes people get sick or they have work or whatever. That's all right. We just change it. I can shift the appointments to the next month on try booking. So I notify the people. Say if one electrician, for example, is sick, so we just notify those 4 people. They normally have 4 appointments. We'll just notify them, and I'll switch them over to the next month.
Interesting.
That's interesting, Les, because it's very much the opposite of how we're working. I mean, ours is very much more informal, and we're weekly, so it may be slightly different. But people walk in, and there's always there's usually a backlog. And people are like sitting around having a coffee, talking with people, waiting for their turn to come up. And then at least one of the items that comes in every week is right when tested. The problem is the user, not the device. So that's usually a 5-minute fix. Whereas I might get stuck on an item for an hour and a half. There's that much variability. Last week I fixed 9 items in a 2-hour session, which is just crazy because every one of the items turned out to be a reasonably easy fix. But other times I might only get through one.
Yeah, it's a good point. Look, I know Sandgate has just a walk-in process. They don't use try booking. It works for them, but our team likes the booking system because they know everybody's different. So yeah.
Yeah, we also do the walk-in, and it does solve the 1 minute issues, or a whole lot of other things. It's so interesting to see the different ways. Thank you so much for answering all those questions, Les.
You're welcome. Just email me if you've got any questions about it.
Do a lot of like admin, organization, coordination, so it's very interesting to see the systems that people use.
Erin, you've got nice to hear from you, Erin.
Hi. Yeah, I was just going to add to what to Mia's question to Les regarding repairers who might cancel at late notice. And I just typed it in the chat, but we found that if you've got within Try Booking, you've got your repair categories they're called sections within the Try Booking system. And it's possible to send an email to everyone who has booked a particular section. So say your sewing repairer can't turn up on Saturday, you've got a couple of days notice, you can then send an email to everyone with a booking in that section to let them know that, sorry, we're going to have to cancel your booking. So that's another way to let people know ahead of time so they don't turn up and say, oh, sorry, she's not here.
Yeah, it's a great system. See,
it's really good, and the way Les has done it, it's sensational actually. We really, and we do a lot of the same processes that you do, Les, with the spreadsheet, sending it out to the volunteers in advance to give them a heads up, and it works well. It spreads out the people across the day, the attendees, the visitors, so that you don't get everyone turning up at opening time hoping to get in first, and then which is always a bit messy. So it works really well for us.
And to answer the question before about the social side of it, we find people still have lots of time to talk. They'll hang around. We have people coming, probably every repair cafe, maybe every second one, some of them, they'll just come in for a chat.
Yeah.
And annoy us more than anything. But it's a good annoying, we love it.
That's so important, isn't it? Well, it's nearly, I think Teams will cut us out if we go half an hour over time. So I'm glad that you've all had a chance to talk. And I know a lot of people have written in the chat that they've copied emails, but I will circulate emails of the people who've attended tonight. And make sure that Les and Gabrielle, if you've offered to host future regular, weekly, whatever you like to do, so you can talk about all the different ways in which you operate, that'd be fantastic. So thank you very much for coming, everyone. As I said, this recording, like everything else, will be made available and hosted. So all of those details, your comments, your questions, your suggestions in the chat will be available to everyone to look at. So thank you very much for coming, and I'm glad that you've connected and all your repair cafes are represented across Australia. It's fantastic to see. So thank you.